Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Chris Kilkenny. For the last 3 years, I've been going about pretty much with David doing these talks, and I've told him every single time, please don't make people clap before I've spoke. And every single time, without fail, he says, and put your hands together for Chris Kilkenny! And everybody claps before we speak, and he does it every single time. We should probably start off by saying, if I ever have to stand in front of a judge and they say, well, why did you do it? I'm going to say, well, David Cameron taught me everything I know. I've been going about and I've been speaking in schools and stuff recently, and last night I actually worked in the door of a nightclub until like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then went to the hotel, so I came here, so I was pretty tired. Now, last time I done this, I was working in Dundee in 2 sets of schools, right? And I was doing 3 schools on one day and 3 schools on the next day. Usually in this situation, I would stay in Dundee on that night and go to the 4th school on the 2nd day in the morning. But my little brother was moving into a flat near Glasgow, and he was pestering me to come and help paint this flat because he was getting his carpets in the next day. So I done the right thing as a big brother, and I said, right, cool. So I travelled up from Dundee after the first day. I was absolutely shattered. He was waiting for me when I got to his flat with a tub of Dulux paint, and I stayed and I painted these skirting boards until the early hours of the morning, and I was absolutely shattered, much like I am today. I got to the 4th school in Dundee on the next again day, and there was a crowd as big as this, and I said, listen guys, I'm really, really sorry, but I got to my little brother's last night. I've been up all night. When I got to the door, he was standing there with a tub of Durex. And these are the type of things that happen to me. I'm going to start off by telling you where I was. I've never been a drug addict, but I was in rehab twice before I was 12 years old. I lived with my 2 brothers, my little sister and my mum in Wester Hills, which is, from people who know Edinburgh, in the west of Edinburgh. It's a suburban council estate where a large amount of the populace live well beneath the poverty line, really poor area, really deprived area. When I was around about 10 years old, I very much lived in my house, do you know what I mean? I never had an aunties that I went to at the weekend, or a grands that I went to, do you know what I mean, every weekend, or went to at the holidays. I very much lived in my house, do you know what I mean, where I stayed. That was it. I never went to anybody else's house for dinner. The life that I lived was the life that I knew. And I remember I came home one day, I was about 10 years old. I came home from primary school, and Mum said, pack up your bags, we're leaving. And it was as sudden as that. Within 2 hours we'd packed our stuff up, went to the bottom of the stair. We stayed in a block of 6 flats. We got to the bottom of this block of 6 flats that we were staying at. And there was 2 cars. There was a black cab, and there was a car that was owned by a local social worker. Now the local social worker took my 2 little brothers, and me, my sister and my mum, we went into this black cab to a place called Brenda House, which was a rehabilitation centre for young women who were detoxing from heroin. Now this place was set up, and it was, for anybody that's got any knowledge of Edinburgh, it's actually not, the facility is just not far from where we are just now. It's been knocked down and new houses have been built. But we were taken to Brenda House. This facility was set up because there was a lot of young mums in the area who were addicted to heroin, who were refusing to take places in rehabilitation centres because it would mean that they would lose their kids, because you couldn't take your kids to a rehabilitation centre. So they set this place up so that you could take your kids within reason. And by within reason, what I mean is my 2 little brothers were deemed too young to be exposed to that environment, so they were temporarily fostered whilst we went to this rehabilitation centre. Staying here, it was pretty weird, do you know what I mean? I never used to tell anybody at school. I wouldn't tell the other kids at my school, I wouldn't tell my teachers. Do you know, I would just totally lie about everything. I was very good at lying, I was very good at manipulating people to think that everything was okay. Do you know what I mean? It was one of the very first lessons that my mum had ever given me. One of my earliest memories, you know how you have those really phasey young early memories? One of those is, for me, I remember I came home and I said to my mum, I told Mrs. Green at the nursery that I had chips for my dinner last night. Very innocent, do you know what I mean, thing to say. And I remember getting a clout across the mouth and my mum saying, you don't talk about what happens at home, at school. And that was very much the ethos, and is very much the ethos for many families from areas like mine. So I was going to school and I was lying all the time. People would say, I'll come in for you after school. And I was living in Brenda House, so obviously they couldn't come in for me after school. I would say, you can't come in for me after school because I'm living because I'm going to my grand's after school. I would come at the weekends and people would say, I'll come in for you at the weekend. And I would say, you can't come in for me at the weekend because I'm at a caravan. So I'd never even seen a caravan. But that, I knew it was a plausible lie. This is how smart and bright I was. to be, and this is how good a liar I was. I was able to make this. It was that old classic thing at school. You come back for the holidays and the teacher would say, right everybody, write a story about what you've been doing during the holidays. And I would fabricate something completely from my imagination, because what I'd really been doing was living in a rehabilitation centre with 6 other people who were detoxing from heroin and with other kids. This was a really strange place to live. Again, it was like a block of 6 flats. And for anybody that knows Edinburgh, and I know there's a few of you here today, it was at the old Hay Road, the buildings there at Nidri. It was in one of those buildings. It looked just like every other set of flats, but inside it had been shelled out. It was very clinical, and there was a sort of big steel door. And if you were going out to play football or whatever, you'd go out and play football. My little brothers were coming to visit. I'd go back. I'd ring this big industrial buzzer. You know, there must be like a company somewhere that makes like these council buzzers. Like just that's their only jobs, is to make these single buzzers. So you'd ring this buzzer. Somebody would come to the door. You'd have to take your shoes off, your socks off. You'd be patted down. You'd be checked to make sure that you weren't smuggling in heroin or crack or whatever for the people that were inside, because it wasn't uncommon for the mums to be coercing their kids into bringing drugs into the rehabilitation centre. So you'd be searched every time you went in and out. It was a really weird place to live. I would never tell anybody that I was living there. As far as everybody at school knew, I was still living at home. And that was the narrative. I suffered through something called the curse of the Vauxhall Astra estate when I was a young guy as well. Now what I mean by that is this rehabilitation centre was about 20 minutes away from our primary school, but they decided that they were going to keep us at the same primary school we were at, so that we could have some consistency. So me, my 2 little brothers who were temporary fostered, and my sister were all going to go to the same primary school. And they were going to do this by taking us in this Vauxhall Astra estate that they had. Now I've not got any problems with Vauxhall Astra estates for anybody that has one. What I do have a problem with is the City of Edinburgh Council and big red writing on the side of it. And they would drive us up to the school, and I would have these arguments every day with the staff at this rehabilitation centre. I would say, please, can you drop us off at the end of the street? And they would say, no, we can't drop you off at the end of the street, we need to drop you off at the school gate. So, they would drive us up, they would drop us right off at the school gate. And I would say, why can you not drop us off at the end of the street? And do you know what I mean? I'm like a 10-year-old boy, and there was this guy working in this office, and he used to say to me, listen Chris, I can assure you it's been risk assessed. And I'm just sort of I'm like 10 years old, I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? So there must have been like a giant bird of prey in Wester Hales that could have came down just swooped and got me. So anyway, I continued to go in this Vauxhall Astra estate, and I had the City of Edinburgh Council on the side of it. But I had a plausible lie for this as well. I'd never even met my dad in my life. But people would say to me, oh, why are you coming to school in the City of Edinburgh Council car? And I'd say, oh, well, my dad, he works for the council. Now, this lie was unravelled one day by a very smart Primary 5 boy who, when there was only a female member of staff working in Brenda House, asked me why my dad was a woman. So that lie got unravelled that day. We stayed here for about 6 months. My mum detoxed from heroin. We went back to the flat in Wester Hales. And I remember it was like a time warp. Because we went, my mum had got a place pretty much, like a sort of somebody had cancelled their place at the rehabilitation centre, so my mum got it at the last minute. That's why everything was so quick. That's why we packed our stuff in 2 hours and left. In that 6 months, I remember the house was a mess. It was, I mean, you can typically imagine what it looked like. There was crisp packets and just rubbish everywhere. My mum wasn't a very hygienic or tidy person because she was, a heroin addict. I remember in the 6 months in between leaving that flat and when we came back after my mum detoxed from heroin, we went back to that flat and the flat was exactly the same the day that we got out of the black cab. It was exactly the same. Nobody had touched it in 6 months. Very quickly, my mum had 4 kids. My 2 little brothers came back from a temporary foster placement. She had 4 kids. She was living in the same situation, living in the same place. She very quickly relapsed and went back on heroin. We repeated that whole process again. I was again taken to school in this dreaded Vauxhall Astra estate. I remember, before I had a real knowledge of what drugs were or what heroin was or what mum was doing to herself. I just remember it as mum was always ill. She was always tired. I remember that I would be at school, I would get home, and I would just think, I hope she's not going to be really angry today, or hope she's not going to be shaken, or she's not going to be ill. And these are signs of withdrawal, but I never knew that. I never really had much knowledge of what heroin was or what the drugs were doing. So I just assumed she was ill, and sometimes she would disappear for days at a time as well. So I'd pick my little brothers and sister up from school every day when we were at primary, and I was at this side of the primary school. My little brothers were at the other side. So I'd run out as soon as the bell went, and I'd run round to catch my little brothers. My two little brothers were twins. Well, they are still twins. No. And they would come first, and I would have to get them under control. I'm like 10 or 11 years old. I'd have to get them under control first. My two little brothers were obsessed with wrestling, and they were always fighting each other 24/7, and I mean like all the time. I mean, you get them together just now, you spend 2 minutes in a room with them, and one of them says, "Can you still breathing like that?" And the other one says, "Did he fucking tell me how to breathe?" And these are the type of arguments that they would have, like even at like as 7, 8 years old. It would take me like 5 or 10 minutes to get them under control. The teacher was obsessed with wrestling as well, because she'd be doing a smackdown move to get them out of the classroom at the end of the day. Then my little sister would come out next, and she was so sensitive about everything, so she just like she doesn't even have knees anymore. She just has like scars where her knees used to be, because she always used to be falling on her knees and crying about something. So I'd have to get her under control. And then we'd make this journey down to the house, and I'd just be praying that when I got back home that the door would be open. Because if the door wasn't open, it usually meant that my mum was either comatose inside, so I'd have to be banging on the door, sitting through the letterbox saying, "Mum, wake up, to let us in." And if she wasn't in, it would mean I'd have to take my two little brothers and my sister about houses in Wester Hales, in Calder, if for anybody that knows the area, in the high flats. I'd be knocking on doors of people that I thought that were my mum was friends, to see if she was there. These people were drug dealers, drug addicts. These places were drug dens, crack dens. Do you know what I mean? I'd be knocking on the door with my two little brothers, my little sister, and I'd be trying to find my mum. And I wouldn't be trying to find mum so I could get my mum back to the house. I'd be trying to find mum so I could get the keys and take my little brothers and sister and have them somewhere safe and somewhere warm for the night. I'd be trying to look after them. This was a trial and error sort of thing. You know what I mean? Me trying to look after 3 young kids. I mean, nobody had ever showed me, nobody had ever given me these skills how to use a washing machine. I never knew the difference between fairy washing up liquid and washing detergent. You know what I mean? I'd just stand over the washing machine, just pouring fairy liquid in it, expanding the washing machine, which would then explode, which would then, do you know what I mean, flood the downstairs neighbour. I had a real problem with heat. I would try and cook like an Iceland £1 pizza, 400 degrees for 40 minutes. It would come out like it would come out like charcoal. I'm actually quite a good cook now, but my wee brothers want to come anywhere near my kitchen. I remember at school as well, we had this real thing about having the crease in the middle of the trousers. And it was, we don't want you to have train tracks in your trousers, do you know what I mean? Having the crease in the middle of your black trousers. I never realised that you had to put water in a steam iron, so I would be trying to iron for me and my little brothers so that our uniform was right, because I was always afraid we were going to be bullied. I always knew that we were different, that we smelled, so I would try my best to try and make us fit in, and I would try and iron these trousers. But I would have no water in the iron, so I'd have the iron up to the top heat, and it was 100% nylon trousers, and I'm just there, just burning holes in trousers constantly. So I had a real problem with heat. When I was about 13, me and my siblings, we were all moved into care permanently. My two little brothers, they went to a foster placement. They stayed together. They went about 60 miles away. My little sister, she went to a foster placement as well, about 50 miles away. I never seen them pretty much from that date, from when I'd been looking after them pretty much every day. I never seen them from that date for about 16, 17 months. And this happens a lot. This is common practice. It's something that needs to be worked on big time. Just because they went into different local authorities, and how do you facilitate the supervised contact between these brothers and sisters? And there was all these meetings that had to happen before I could just see my brothers and sister. And this still happens. This is still going on. You guys will have kids that will be coming through your door that might have been separated from their siblings, that might not have seen them for 6 months. So I was taken to a place called More Than Young People Centre, which was in Edinburgh. And I'll never forget, it was a Sunday night. The police came to the house, and they basically came in on the Sunday night and they said, right, no more, we need to take these kids out of the house. Like I say, my little brothers went to the foster placement with an emergency social worker. Another emergency social worker came and took my little sister. There was no more emergency social workers left in Edinburgh on the Sunday night. So I was taken to More Than Young People Centre in the back of the police car with the police officer who attended. Now, I was a young guy from Wester Hales whose only contact with adults and contact or sort of vision of the police was through the eyes of drug dealers and drug takers and criminals. So I felt like when I was in the back of that car that I'd done something wrong. Do you know what I mean? I was absolutely terrified. I was crying. I didn't know where they were taking me. I thought I was going to the bad boys' home. I was getting the jaggy jumper. That's how I felt. I was on my way to this More Than Young People Centre. So we arrived at More Than Young People Centre, and there was a guy there who was going to be my key worker called Craig. And he sort of opened the door. And he was a really nice guy, sort of calmed me down. He said, "This is not your fault. he showed me, it was quite late, the other kids that were staying in Morden Young People's Centre were in their beds, so he showed me about it. He said, this will be your room, this is where you'll wash your clothes, this is where we'll wash your clothes. And I said, no, I can wash my own clothes, because by now I knew the difference between washing up liquid and washing up detergent. This is where you can iron your clothes. I went, no, I'm efficient, I can iron my clothes now, because I learned after a few times burning holes in the trousers how to iron clothes. And he got up to the room, he took me to my room and he said, this is going to be your room. Get up in the morning, get dressed, and come out and find me at the office and I'll take you to school. And I wasn't having a particularly good time at school, but I was looking forward to getting to school the next again day, because everything had changed within like 6 hours. So I was absolutely terrified. I just wanted to get somewhere where at least I was familiar. So I got up in the morning, I got dressed, and I remember standing behind the door, and there was 10 other young people living in this place, and I'd never met any of them. I could hear them running about the halls. There was other members of staff working there, and I didn't know them either, so I was absolutely terrified to even open the door. But I did. I opened the door and I went and found Craig. Now Craig, like I told you, was a nice guy, but what I hadn't found out is that he'd seen that I'd had a really rubbish time, do you know what I mean, the night before. He'd seen how distraught I was, he'd seen that, do you know what I mean, I've had a pretty shit couple of days. But what he decided today in the night that I went to sleep in that room, is he went to Brenda House and he purchased a Vauxhall Astor estate with the City of Edinburgh Council on the side. And he said, I'm going to give you a lift to school in this car. And obviously I felt like this was a personal vendetta against Vauxhall Astor estates with the City of Edinburgh. It was obviously a contracting issue with Edinburgh Council. Now this is no longer a problem. We campaigned against it and nobody gets taken to school with a City of Edinburgh Council badge on the side of the car. For many of my childhood years before I went into care, I witnessed a lot of drink and drug misuse, physical and domestic abuse, and even death. But see, when I think back to some of the stuff that we're talking about, some of the stuff that's really stuck with me and really still hurts, it's not the big, massive, horrible stories that I could tell you. Do you mean I've witnessed death, I've witnessed, do you know what I mean, living in a house that was effectively a crack den, so you can imagine that there'd be some pretty terrible, horrible stories. But the two things that really do stick with me and have moulded the sort of adult that I've became and father that I've became, because I've got a young boy myself. The first one is a word that we're really embarrassed by in Scotland, and it's hungry. I was hungry all the time, incessantly hungry all the time. I was always starving. I'd go to class and say, Miss, I'm starving. And she'd say, you're not starving, Chris, kids in Africa are starving. Now I was literally starving to the level where I'd go home at the weekend and my mum wouldn't be there, so me and my two little brothers and sister would go out and look for coppers and 5 pences so we could save up enough money to go to Lidl's and buy a loaf of bread. That's the level of poverty that kids in Edinburgh, in your own city, in this city, are experiencing. And that's no change. There's kids that, do you know what I mean? I still live in Wester Hales. I still live in that community. I know kids right now that have not had their dinner last night, that have not had their breakfast this morning, and there's probably no one person here that can put their hand up and confidently say that every kid that they work with has had their dinner and their breakfast. And that's the level of poverty that we're experiencing. So that was one thing that really stuck with me growing up as an adult, and I've got a 4-year-old boy now. I pretty much just follow him about with a bag of food, just sort of ram it down. When he's like 4 years old and he's 17 stone. the other one was just this constant feeling of no fitting in. I just wanted to fit in at school. I just wanted to turn. I really liked it. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to learn. I wanted to turn up to school, and I really wanted to fit in. I wanted to have a nice pair of black shoes, and I wanted to have the trousers with the crease in the middle, and I wanted to feel clean and washed. There was never any hot water in my house, so I always smelled. Do you mean I wanted to turn up and I wanted to feel like everybody else? I wanted to feel like I fitted in. I wanted to feel like I belonged somewhere, and I never ever did. Nobody ever asked me if it was okay. Nobody ever had conversations with me. I never had a friend, do you know what I mean, that was really a kid, or I never had a friend that was adults. I never felt like I belonged anywhere. Do you know what I mean? I always felt like I was trying just to fit in. I was trying my best just to mask everything. That's how I felt. I want you to keep in mind that these circumstances in this story, do you know what I mean? Sometimes it can sound unique. It can sound like a total horror story. Some people might think, oh, that's not my kids. There's kids that are coming into my classroom in Edinburgh or in Glasgow or in Scotland. That's not happening for my kids. Well, you're wrong. It doesn't matter where you go in Scotland just now. Young people are suffering from extreme poverty like this. Young people are suffering from issues like these. They might not reveal them like I did. They might hide them. They might be good liars, good manipulators. Do you know why? Because that's what they've been taught from day one, when they were clouted across the mouth at nursery for telling the nursery teacher that they had chips for dinner. Just not to tell the teachers what happens at home. They might not have any trust. They might not have any. They might not have a relationship with anybody in the school where they feel like they can open up. They may put on a front like I did to protect themselves, to protect their family, because at the end of the day, it's still their mum. Do you know what I mean? Even if their mum is a heroin addict who's not looking after them, at the end of the day, it's still their mum. So they do try and. Do you know what I mean? I was trying to protect her. I was trying to protect my little brothers and my sisters with fear of the unknown. Nobody ever told me that if I went to a social work centre and said, oh, my mum's never there and I never get any tea and I've never had a bath and I'm starving and my mum's a heroin addict, nobody ever said to me, well, what will happen is we'll take your two little brothers to a nice place, a nice foster family who will really do right by them. We'll take your little sister to a foster family who will really do right by them, and we'll take you to a facility where you'll be safe, warm and looked after. Nobody ever said that to me. So I never knew what was going to happen if I went and told people what was actually going on for me. They may act up, and these young people, they might act up and joke and try and be the centre of attention, because sometimes to the untrained eye, these young people just might seem problematic. They might just be the ones that piss you off. They might be the ones that you want to send to the base or put out into the corridor, because they're the ones that seem to disrupt your lesson. But what you've got to really remember after I stop speaking today is that sometimes the best place for a young person to hide is in plain sight. It's right in front of you. I'm 23 now. I've been out in the big scary world for 7 years. I've got a 4-year-old son called Cameron. We still live in Mester Hales. There's no drugs, no alcohol, no violence or anything like that, but my young family still struggles. We're impacted daily by the events in my childhood. The impact this stuff had on my education. I never had any time at school to think about how much it would set me back not getting my exams. How much it would set me back not getting my exams. I went to school every day and I wanted to learn. Do you know what I mean? I would sit down in class. I sit down in classes and I would line everything up in a straight line, and I would almost hold onto the table and stare at the teacher. And one of my most memorable teachers at school, he was actually a good teacher. One of the ones where I could almost sit and listen to his classes. His name was Mr. Savage. And I'll tell you a good story about a teacher that affected my little brother's life, and I swear to God his name's Mr. Love. But I would sit there and I would go into these classes and I would put everything out in a straight line, and I would stare at the teacher. But within 5 or 10 minutes, do you know what I mean, there's no way I could concentrate in this class, and I'd be getting the same chat all the time. Chris, I've got 45 minutes to teach this lesson and 30 other young people to teach it. If you want to ruin it for yourself, that's fine, but you're not going to ruin it for everybody else, so please go and sit outside. So that's what I'd do. I'd go and sit outside the classroom. That was easier. I would start to actually realise, just by body language of the teacher, whether they wanted me to sit outside or not. I would go into the class and I could tell if they wanted me there. If they didn't want me there, I'd just stand up, I'd go and sit outside, and there'd be no argument about it, and that would be the best thing for everybody. I started off at Clovenstone Primary School. My memories there were happy, carefree. I remember I used to turn up in the morning. They had an AstroTurf pitch outside. I'd turn up like an hour before school, and I'd play football in the morning. And I used to have a Real Madrid strip that somebody had brought me back from holiday, and I'd wear it underneath my school uniform. And I'd have my two little brothers and my sister be one person short of a five-a-side team. And I'd turn up to this AstroTurf pitch every morning, and and by the way, I told this story at a Catholic school, and I said I used to wear this strip religiously underneath my uniform every day, and I swear to God, everybody in the room stood up and started clapping. There was a picture of the Pope on the wall that gave me the thumbs up. So I took my stuff off and I played football for an hour. They had a breakfast club at my school. So I'd go to the breakfast club, my two little brothers and my sister, and we'd eat, like, between us about 47,000 bits of toast. And then I'd know where my little brothers were, I'd know where my sister was, and then we'd get a free school lunch, do you know what I mean? So school was good for me because of those reasons. I knew we were going to get fed, but I still dreaded the weekends. I still dreaded the holidays, because those were times where I knew I wasn't going to get my free school meal. I wasn't going to get my breakfast club. I was jealous of people at school as well, because there were so many things that I couldn't take part in. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't play for the school football team because the school football team played on a grass pitch. I never had football boots. I remember there was a tournament that was set up by Kenny Dalglish in partnership with McDonald's, and they put out a letter to say, they picked a team from every school, and I got picked as part of the team, and they sent this letter away and they said, please bring your shin pads, your football boots, and £2 for the bus. And I remember just ripping the letter up. There was going to be scouts and stuff at this tournament. I remember just ripping the letter up and putting it in the bin. So I mean, there was multiple stuff like that. £60 deposit for the school camp, first come, first served. Out the door. There was absolutely no chance. I ripped the letter up before I even got home. Or even if there was simple stuff like a bake sale or something on, anything that costed money, anything where it made you get up, stand up at the class, and I never had it, I would just no turn up that day. These were all barriers. the rugby teams, boxing clubs, going to school camps, even just having clean and new uniforms. So I just wanted to fit in, I just wanted to be clean, like everybody else. That was one of my biggest things at school. I just wanted to be clean and presentable, like everybody else. I would have been happy if somebody just gave me a haircut, a new pair of shoes and a nice uniform one day. That would have made the biggest difference to a day for me. By the time I got into high school, I had social work involvement at home. My school were at least partly aware of my circumstances because it was a need-to-know basis, so certain teachers knew certain things. I was starting to find school really hard, not academically because I was smart enough, but like I say, my ability to concentrate was being affected, just like I was telling you earlier. Things went on like that for a while. My work became worse, my attitude and behaviour towards school became bitter. I started to resent and even blame adults in the system for my situation. I started to blame any sort of teachers, any sort of authoritative figure, because all these decisions were being made about my life and nobody would ever ask me if I was alright. I never felt like I had a friend in the world. Nobody ever asked me if I was okay, nobody ever came up to me and gave me a hug. Nobody ever said, is there any reason why you can't concentrate in class? Looking back, this resentment that I had towards adults and this bitterness that I built up, it was wrong, but I felt invisible. I felt like nobody actually cared about me or where I ended up. And I felt like people came to do their jobs and then go home and they never cared what happened to me in the hours that they never saw me. I no longer had school to look forward to like I did in primary because I was in secondary now and there was so much change and it was a much bigger school. I never knew where my little brothers were, I never knew where my sister was, there was no breakfast club. And there was things that I couldn't take part in because of cost. I remember there was a hospitality class, a cooking class, and I really liked it, right? And I think it was actually home economics, and I would turn up and you would basically stand at the aisle and you would make something in this lesson, do you know what I mean? So this was one of the lessons I could take part in. I could actually contribute well to this lesson. And you come in, you make a pot of soup, or do you know what I mean, some rock cakes or whatever, and then you get to take them away with you at the end of the lesson. Brilliant, do you know what I mean? This is all for me. But it was £2 a week for ingredients. Now, actually looking back at it, right, there was 30 students in this class, right? £60 to make 3 pots of soup. This will make teachers on the fiddle. So I'd never have this £2, and at the start of the lesson, she would say, "Chris, have you got your £2?" I'd say, "No, miss, I've not got my £2." So see, when it came to picking classes, I never picked that class. I picked a class where I knew I was going to be sitting in the corridor. Now I could have been the next Gordon fucking Ramsay, but we'll never know. There was one particular day where things took a really bad turn. I look upon it now with no bitterness. But at the time I felt extreme anger and embarrassment because it was an event that caused me 2 years of relentless bullying at 3 different schools, and along with everything else eventually led to my decision to drop out before my exams. Whilst I was in the rehabilitation centre, a documentary was made. Partly filmed, partly animated. It was called The Wrong Trainers, Chris's Story.
This is the toilet. At least you don't have to wait for the toilet because there's like 300 toilets in this place. I don't live in a house or a flat, I live in a rehabilitation centre. A rehabilitation centre is a place for people who are on drugs who can come off them and find themselves again. And in my family, it is my mum that is dealing with that. And I have 2 brothers and my sister takes ages doing her hair.
And ignore him.
This is the boys' room, which I have to share with my brothers. They're twins. I think my brothers didn't care because my mum couldn't cope with all 4 of us. When I needed school stuff or something, my mum had no money. She never had any money to pay for it. And this is my season thing.
But why is it in my box?
It tells me all the games of the season. The reason my mum took drugs is because she thought that they would take all her worries away. It was just boring because she was always asleep. Sometimes she didn't look well. It just means sick. But then that is just life. I've never known anybody to dye their hair red and do all sorts of weird things with their hair. I think that's quite cool. My mum is off drugs now and been off drugs for 2 weeks, something like that. But they're unwell after they come off drugs, but after a couple of weeks they get better. This government is not spending money as wisely as they should be. If I could say one thing, I think I'd tell them not to walk away from these problems.
Won't trainers come play with us? Must be wondering what's the fuss?
So they made this documentary, and I'll try and tell you this as quickly as possible, but they made this documentary and they made it as anonymous as possible so that other people my age wouldn't bully me. About a year went by. It was a really good thing to be a part of. Great exposure for me. I got to go to an animation studio in London for it to be made. About a year went by. It was fifth period. I came in after lunch and we were just about to get a new school, so we had the actual TV was set up. Now usually this probably meant that the modern studies teacher had went for a pint at lunch and went home. And we were probably going to be watching Stand By Me. But we weren't watching Stand By Me, we were going to be watching The Wrong Trainers because of the story, and I seen the teacher holding it in his hands and my heart fell right through my toes. I begged him not to show it. I told him it was about me. I told him it was about my family. He shrugged me off as being the class clown. He hadn't watched the resource before he was about to show it. They then showed this DVD in the class. This DVD was used as a resource right across Edinburgh. It was given to that teacher and it was given to every other modern studies teacher, and they were told to use it as a lesson plan. So when I got my apology at the end, he also told me, I'm sorry, but it's been shown in every other class as well. Nobody asked if it was okay or nobody asked if it was alright, but the teacher had got it wrong. The teacher thought that there was no way that a young guy in his class could be suffering from issues like these. It was easier to teach from this video. But every young person in school had now branded me a smelly junkie from rehab. I tell you this story because it highlights an important point, especially in Edinburgh. A quarter mile away from Collington Village, where houses sell for £2 and £3 million each, lies Wester Hailes, a suburban council estate where a large amount of the populace live well beneath the poverty lines, where kids are experiencing lives like this every day. They're coming through your doors, they're coming through your class, and I'm going to finish off with just some stuff that you can do that can help them. I want you to ask yourselves, are the opportunities and education that you provide in the community, in your settings, are they really and truly free? If they're not, then do something about it. I want you to start off with the kids in their bed and then they get back to their bed. And I want you to try and get them from bed to bed with the least amount of cost as possible, because then it truly makes things accessible. So I mean, then you've not got Chris ripping up the letter and no turning up to the football tournament and no being seen by the scout. You've not got Chris no going to the hospitality class because he's not got the £2. Look out for the signs of poverty, and even if there are none, what harm will it do for you to ask a young person just once a day if they're alright, if they're okay? Having a conversation with them. Drop your teacher attitude for 2 seconds and just be a person. Have a conversation with them. Don't let any young person fade away at the back of the class and be invisible. And no matter how much we might hide, remember, every young person wants to be seen. Most of all, if you come across a young person who's struggling or is acting out, always remember it's never as plain as they want to get on your nerves. It's like a sponge. I'd pick my little brothers up. That was a really big responsibility. When my sister would come, she was a really big responsibility. I'd get to the door, it'd be closed. That was a big responsibility. I'd get to the flats, the drug dens, the crack dens, looking for my mum. She wouldn't be there. Big responsibility. I'd take that in. I'd get to class in the morning after not having anything to eat or being able to get my little brother or sister anything to eat, and somebody would say to me, "Where's your homework? Who do you think's going to get everything that's in this sponge?" The first set of ears that was ready to listen to me. I'm going to finish off with a quick poem. It's because I Ain't Got a Pencil by Joshua T. Dickerson. I woke myself up because we ain't got an alarm clock. Dug in the dirty clothes basket because ain't nobody washed my uniform. Brushed my hair and teeth in the dark because the lights ain't on. Even got my baby sister ready because my mama was at home. Got us both to school on time to eat us a good breakfast. Then when I got to class, the teacher fussed because I ain't got a pencil. That's one by Joshua T. Dickerson, and this is one by me, asking a plea to you. Hungry I always was, but said I never did. Dirty I always felt, but the smell never rid. I stood alone and cold, no friends, young or old. To me, that would have been worth more than silver or gold. My mum was never there, though tell I didn't dare. She couldn't even help at school, I needed someone rare. A teacher could have helped me, just a friend or someone there. I guess all I'm asking for is just one person to care. John Swinney said at the Scottish Learning Festival last year that difference between hope and hopelessness is a quality education. I think he's almost right, but the difference between hope and hopelessness is just one person that cares about a young person, and that's every single one of you that's sitting in that seat. And I'm going to finish now and run away before Suzanne shoots.